This week on That's How I Roll, it's Tiffany Caires of Haba Games USA. And don't forget, head over to theologyofgames.com where you can sign up for our Tiny Epic contest. That's right, every Tiny Epic game in its deluxe format can be yours. Let's get into the show. Here we go.
Buckle up. It's time for That's How I Roll with Jeremiah Isley, a podcast about the games we play and the lives we live. That's How I Roll is presented by Theology of Games. Visit theologyofgames.com for the latest in tabletop gaming, news, reviews, and interviews. And now, here's Jeremiah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to That's How I Roll. Thanks for tuning in for another week. We've got a special episode for you, and I didn't tell you this, but I wasn't supposed to have another interview for another week or two here, but when I found out that our guest today is working at a new gaming publisher and that she was available, I said, hey, let's jump on this thing. Let's get you on the show a couple weeks early ahead of my production schedule. So let's cut with the suspense here and introduce Tiffany Caires, who is with Haba Games now. So, Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So we had you on the show. You've been on the show a few times, once or twice at Origins, and then also post Origins of last year. And you were with, we'll just say a different publisher at the time, or I don't know.
Oh, we can say Deepwater Games. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I was with Deepwater Games.
Not that people can't scroll down and see, oh, Deepwater Games.
Yeah.
But so now you've jumped out of the deep water and you are with Haba Games. Tell us, I guess, don't give away like deep dart, air dirty laundry, but what kind of led to this transition? What's going on? How are things with Haba Games? And we'll just kind of start there.
Yeah. Well, so Deepwater Games, which was founded in 2018, I believe technically they were founded like end of 2017, but I started with Deepwater and Deepwater became public at the beginning of 2018. But it's a startup. Deepwater Games is very much a startup, and it's always been a startup kind of culture. And there's never been a secret about that.
Right.
And I always said when I was in tech, because I used to work in tech, that I would never ever work for a startup. And then I did work for a startup, and I should have listened to past me. I loved the work that I was doing at Deepwater. I absolutely loved the community and the team at Deepwater. But I just couldn't handle the startup pace, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so after Gen Con, I had some health issues, and we talked with the doctors and stuff, and they were like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't work for a startup. So I left Deepwater, and we left on good terms, and I left just after Gen Con last year, so August.
Okay.
And I just focused on my health for the rest of 2018 and my channel. I have a YouTube channel where I do streams. And Essen, I did a lot of Essen content last year, with daily vlogs that I did a 1-day turnaround. So if you want to experience Essen, you can go and watch those on my YouTube channel. The One Tar is the channel. But so last year I kind of just focused on me and my stuff. And then I got a text from Leah, who's the president of Haba USA, who I've been friends with for a number of years. And she said, hey, I'm going to be creating this position. And I think that you should apply. So I went ahead and applied, and they had a lot of other candidates, and it was like a 3-month interview process.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was pretty involved. It was very weird. There was a lot of I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 2019. I could be doing more content creation and more freelance work, or I could be running a major toy company's game line. It was I don't know. But I got the job, and I started beginning of this month, which seems like 4 months ago now.
Oh, wow.
It's so weird to me. But yeah, so that's kind of like the history of how I got here and also why I love Deepwater. But so at Haba, my official title is the Games Channel Manager, which doesn't make a lot of sense unless you understand how Haba is structured. And Haba is actually a toy company, and Haba is a toy company out of Germany that has existed for 80 years. And the U.S. branch of Haba has only existed for, I believe, 26 years, but they've been a toy company primarily. And 4 or 5 years ago, they decided they were going to start getting really into the games industry in the U.S. and start kind of getting into games distribution channels and things like that. But they also were still operating like a toy company, which is very, very different than how games companies work typically. And so my position was created, and I was hired to basically help shape the games line of Haba USA into a more traditional games publisher format, so it makes more sense for the industry.
No small task.
Yeah.
That's all. Just, changing how an 80-year-old company works.
Well, not the German company.
Right.
So the German company, it's really interesting because German Haba has been around for a long time and has participated in the Nuremberg Toy Fair and also Spiel Essen and things like that. So the German Haba knows how the European game industry works.
Oh, okay.
And does a very good job with that. It's the U.S. Haba, when Leah started bringing games into the game distribution side in the U.S., she was jumping in completely no idea what she was doing. And so she had a lot of support from the game industry. The game industry has always been fantastic.
Sure.
And supportive of anybody doing anything new. But she was still kind of the person, and the majority of Haba USA, it's a small toy company, but they've got a number of employees. They own their own warehouse and distribution center and things like that. But they're all toy industry. So everything they know how to do and every timeline and schedule that they adhere to is toy industry, which is very different from game industry.
Sure.
So Leah has learned a lot and has kind of tried to shape game releases and stuff to match the game industry. But she's still the president of Haba USA, and it's very difficult for her to be the president of Haba USA and also trying to coordinate and work with a different industry at the same time.
Right. So you hire you to come on board and take care of all of that. So that being said, I mean, obviously you're less than a month into this. What are those challenges? What's this year shaping up to be for Haba as you try to kind of shape them into, that hobby game channel, turn that into something that sort of represents and is more fluid and coherent with the gaming industry?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is release schedules. So in the toy industry, you have a spring release and you have a fall release, and you coordinate those releases with Toy Fair, which just happened at the end of January, and you coordinate it with basically pre-holidays. So fall right before the holidays, so everybody knows what new holiday toys are coming out. And in the games industry, we're very different. And our biggest, in the US games industry especially, our biggest release date is Gen Con, which is in summer.
Yeah.
So Haba traditionally has really had to scramble or has missed taking advantage of the big game industry release times like Origins and Gen Con in the US. And it makes it tough for stores, because game stores, they're not looking for new releases in January.
Right.
They're still riding the wave of titles that are coming in from Essen.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where this year for 2019, my biggest goal is to just make sure that we can shift we start shifting the release timeline for these games, which are already in the pipeline and they're already in the process. It's just making sure that we try and sync up the times as best we can with the actual game industry. And that includes making sure we have support materials. So in the toy industry, it's really interesting. In the toy industry, nobody cares what you're doing unless they can buy it. So in the toy industry, if you're coming out with a new rattle, you don't tell anybody about it until they can order it from you.
Oh, okay.
Whereas in the games industry, we care so much about what's coming because we try to plan and pick up and do research.
Yeah.
So in the games industry, if you're coming out with a new game, you need to tell everybody about that new game about 3 months before they can even buy it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and distributors need that information so that they can set up their distributor systems so retailers can buy them, or pre-order rather. And retailers want to know about these games so they can look and see if they want to pre-order the games to stock them. And then consumers want to know about these games so that they can decide if they're going to pre-order them from the retailer, or they're going to pick and choose or do research or watch reviews or that kind of stuff, so that when it does release, they already know whether or not they're going to buy it.
Sure. I mean, that's half of what we do here is tell people about games that are coming out, and then we talk about the ones that have come out. So yeah, it's the hype machine, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And trying to explain the hype machine to the toy industry folks at Haba is like, Leah gets it because she's been in the industry, but
sure.
But the rest of the folks at Haba USA, they're like, you do what 3 months beforehand? What do you mean we need to have pictures and graphics of these things 3 months? Like, they're not even being printed yet. And I'm like, yeah, but you still got to do it.
Right. Trust me, we need this.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess when you say, I'm just kind of letting you spill how your job works here. When you are the games channel manager, are you part of the process of picking which games get published and selecting that and kind of setting up those dates? Or I guess how far does that reach? Or is that something that just kind of comes from sort of the mothership in Germany, and or do you have a hand in that?
I definitely have a hand in that. So basically, as the games channel manager, if it's Haba USA Games, it's me.
Okay.
So I make decisions in regards to what games we're importing from Haba Germany, because the way that Haba works is Haba Germany has a games development team, which is fantastic, and they have a good sized games development team in-house that are continually working on games. And as a subsidiary, I get access where I can see kind of like developmental progress on a lot of those games.
Okay.
But for certain games, I have to either try and play them, which I missed. Normally, I'm supposed to go to Nuremberg, but I wasn't hired yet. So I didn't go to Nuremberg to play the fall releases. So I've had some meetings. I haven't actually gotten to play any of the fall releases yet, but I've had meetings where like they play them in front of me on a webcam so I can see how the games play. And I can kind of review development notes and rules and things like that. And based on that, I make a decision on whether or not Hobby USA would like to import that title. And once we make a decision on if we're going to import that title, I get to have a little bit more of a say in regards to the development process.
Okay.
Not a lot, but like minor things like, oh, that culturally will not be good in America. Like things like that.
Sure.
Yeah. And they also they know I'm a gamer, and I've had some conversations. So they're used to dealing with Hobby USA employees, which are just toy industry and don't have great gamer questions. But they have been super happy. The German team has been super happy and very supportive that I am on the team now because I'm a gamer and I talk gamer language.
Yeah.
And so I think they're letting me be more involved than I think traditionally how USA has been, which is fantastic. But So I'll pick which games we're going to bring over. I pick an initial print quantity, and Leah is definitely helping me and mentoring me through that
Okay.
because the quantities are very different than a traditional game company. Because I would say, depending on the game, your target audience might not be the hobby game industry at all. Our target audience might be the toy industry because Haba Games still do very well in the toy industry.
Sure. Yeah.
So we have some games coming out at Origins, and two of those games I probably won't do. I'll do like an announcement to the game industry, and they'll be available if the game industry wants to order them. But I don't anticipate anyone in the game industry really caring about those toys, those games. Those are games that we'll do our due diligence on them for sure, but they're not hobby games. They're definitely more of the like toy store games.
That's a good segue. Speaking of games, what can you tell us about what's coming this year? You said there's some stuff coming out at Origins. I guess give us a little bit of like what you think are just going to be the toy industry, maybe not so interesting to the gamer community, but also, what's coming from the gamer side that you think gamers would be super excited about?
Well, the first one is actually technically already been announced and released, but it actually will be arriving in our warehouse today, or it has arrived.
Okay.
And that's Hanga, which was an Essen release from Haba Germany, but it was on a lot of U.S. Most anticipated lists, but it hasn't been available until like this week or next week.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's kind of the bigger strategy game that we're planning for 2019. And for our Origins releases, we are looking at, hopefully it'll make it in time, a release in the Unicorn Glitter Luck line. So Unicorn Glitter Luck is our pink boxes. It's our only pink box line, but it's a unicorn IP from Germany that Haba has developed more. And we already have two Unicorn Luck games. One is Cloud Crystals, which is like a roll and move for preschoolers. It has some sharing elements and like big chunky pink stones that kids love. And then there's a cooperative one for preschoolers or kindergartners, also in that line. And so now we're bringing out another one at Origins, which is for a little bit of an older audience, which is kind of more the kindergarten, first grade, 5 and up age range. And that one will also be cooperative.
Cool. So there's no like Unicorn 4X title coming.
Not yet. Give me time.
All right.
Give me time. If I can figure out how to get Unicorn Glitter Luck into the train industry, like
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, we'll do an 18 Unicorn Glitter Luck 18XX.
I love it.
That's on my to-do list.
All right. I'll be watching. I'll be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. The other ones that I was going to mention is we have some. This is really interesting. So in the European market, metal tin boxes are very popular. A lot of small games don't come in cardboard. They come in those aluminum tins.
Yeah.
And those traditionally just don't do well at all in the US market.
Yep.
It's really, they don't stack as well. In Europe, they have like special displays at the game stores and toy stores that hold these tins. It's like a special shelf thing. But in the US, we don't have those. And so no one has the infrastructure to like easily stock these tins. And so the US don't typically like to stock them. But there are two, Haba Germany is coming out with a line of these 10 games for traveling. And they're super cute because everything Haba does is super cute. And two of those games we really liked. And so we're going to be bringing those over. And those are the ones that probably won't do that well in the hobby industry just because they're metal tins and people don't like that.
Right.
But the game it features magnetic elements. And so the boxes need to be tens.
Oh, okay.
For them to work. Yeah. And so we're going to be bringing over 2 of those travel games for the summer season. And we anticipate those being more popular in the toy industry.
Sure.
But we'll definitely make sure the game industry has them available if they wish to buy them.
Yeah, I think you're totally right on. When I see a game that's in a 10, I'm like, this had better be a really good game because it's not going to fit on my game shelf the way I want it to, which sounds ridiculous, but total first world problem there. But I think if the game is good, it overcomes that, right? Like I own Sushi Go and Sushi Go Party because I think those are fun games that my family loves playing. And so those are on my shelf. So there, there's exceptions to that. I think it's overcomable. But it's interesting that there's that magnetic element, which obviously you'd have to have the 10 box if that's how the game works. So that'll be interesting to see how those are received, and also I'm curious on how that gameplay works too.
Yeah. Well, and I am too. And they're kind of they're kids games. They're targeted more towards the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds.
Sure.
Or like travel in regards to like an easy game that you can play on an airplane or like on a train or in the car, that kind of thing. So I'll be very interested to see if we do the traditional game industry marketing flow and time release with the 10 games, if they'll do better.
I don't think we did this the last time you were on the show, but this is super awesome. So I call this segment, the show's called That's How I Roll. So this is the That's How I Roll segment. I have in front of me a list of 20 questions, and in my hand, I have a D20. So okay. I'm gonna roll, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 times and ask you these random questions, and you can be as brief as you want, as long as you want. It's just fun. We're doing a podcast here. It's not rocket surgery. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. And I'm really rolling a D20.
I hear it.
I could just like make up and say, oh, it's 11. But it wasn't 11. So the question is, what was your favorite school subject? Math. All right. Just no other reason, just math.
Well, my mom was a math teacher when I was younger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my mom was a math teacher when I was younger. And when she was going to school when she was getting her master's in mathematics to be that math teacher, I was like 5 or 6 or something like that. And she would practice her lectures on me. And she figured if her 6-year-old could figure out algebra and calculus, the like adults she was teaching would be fine. And so my whole life, math has been like this fun thing for me because she's always made it into a game.
Yeah.
So in school, I was really good at math for obvious reasons.
I would hope
and
so,
it was
right?
It was just a fun thing for me.
Nice. That's cool. I was the kid that was always good at math, but I never liked it. So I never like pursued it beyond being in school. So anyway, enough about me. Let's roll a die. Here it goes. Ooh, it's a 20. All right, this is a little bit of a dated question, and I need to replace it, actually. But who shot JR?
I don't even know the reference.
You don't even... Oh, my gosh. So, the 80s TV show Dallas.
I don't even...
Which was like this huge thing. And then at the end of the one season, the main guy, J.R. Ewing, got shot. And like, so that whole summer, everybody, like everywhere, the question was who shot JR.
Oh, that's funny.
And I don't remember.
I don't even know what you would update that to.
It just needs to go away. So if you have a suggestion, we'll throw a different question in there. And that can be your contribution to the show from now to eternity. All right. I'm going to roll the die. Number 6. Okay, this could be a silly question or it could be a deep question. You take it how you want to take it. But the question is, what are you afraid of?
Oh, I don't know. I'm afraid. I'm trying to like make it not too deep but still interesting, and then I'm still like, I don't even know. But I will say so this is very my first I've had dogs my whole life, but the first dog that I ever got that was like truly my own and not like a family dog. I am afraid for the day that she is not with me. And now I'm gonna cry, but
okay.
I love Ichi, and she's getting old and she's got a lot of arthritis stuff. So
I'm sorry.
It's getting heavy on my mind.
Yeah. All right, let's quickly roll the die so that we can not make our guests cry on their show. And okay, 8. Transformers or G.I. Joe?
There's so many great quotes from G.I. Joe.
Right.
But I preferred the like context of Transformers more.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, I was more of a Captain Planet over G.I. Joe.
Okay. Yeah, see, I was like both as a kid, but Transformers, I don't know, there's just something about robots, and
they transform.
Right.
That's like the coolest part.
Like I had the Soundwave. I had him when I was a kid. Like you could put the little tapes in, and then they came out and they turned into things, and yeah, they were pretty cool.
There's like a new Japanese Transformer series that isn't technically Transformers. And I haven't seen it, but my friend Tony Miller, his kid is super into them. And I like to go over and play with the toys, like the Transformer toys. They're super cool.
That's awesome. All right, let's do a couple more here. Number 5. I'm rolling low today. Oh, so here we go. The opposite of the one question that made you cry. What makes you happy?
I would say watching people play and discover games that they love.
Cool.
Makes me super happy, especially if they're people that don't consider themselves gamers. That makes me like crazy happy when I finally convince somebody to play a game and it just like clicks for them and then they're like super into it.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's a pretty happy thing. I enjoy that. That's a good answer. Not that there's wrong answers, but good answer. I rolled that 20 again. We're not gonna go that way.
You could do 20 could be Star Trek or Star Wars. Do you have that one?
I think I have that somewhere. Maybe I don't. How do I not have that?
Because that's like the best nerd pop culture question.
It really is, and it's very polarizing.
Yeah.
It is not on the list. It is now on the list.
Yes. My legacy will live on.
There it is. And I will ask you, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Traditionally, I'm a Star Trekkie.
Really?
I'm definitely a Trekkie, but I married a Star Wars, and I haven't been into any of the like more recent Star Treks. So I've definitely seen and supported the Star Wars industry more in the last since my marriage. Like I haven't seen Star Trek Discovery or anything like that. So yeah, I'm like an old school Trekkie, but a new age Star Wars, I guess.
All right, we'll go with that. I would say the old Star Trek is definitely my. If I'm going to watch Star Trek, it's like original stuff, Captain Kirk, not Picard. So that's my slant. I do have Kirk or Picard on here as one of the questions.
Yeah, see, Kirk and Picard's a good one because I'd have to go with Picard.
Yeah.
I wish Sir Patrick Stewart was like my like dad or like my uncle.
He's a pretty cool dude. I will give. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more. Here we go. Number 2 is, what is your number 1 pet peeve?
Oh, this is such a weird one. My number 1 pet peeve is when people eat cereal with milk in it in front of me.
Is it the milk that drives you crazy, or is it?
I don't like milk in my cereal. I think it's the grossest thing, because when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to have milk because I had an allergy.
Okay.
But my brother loved it, and every morning would eat a giant bowl of Cheerios, drowning in milk. And it like the sound is so disgusting to me.
It's simply out of sibling rivalry, love to drive you crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And now Steve, he'll have a bowl of cereal in the morning, and I have to leave the room. I'm like, I can't be around while you eat that. It's just. And he can try and it doesn't matter. Like, just the sound of like the spoon in the like soupy weird. I just hate it. I hate it.
I think that is my favorite question, because I have heard so many just funny, quirky answers, things that drive us crazy. That's really funny. That's cool. All right. Anyway, that's enough of that. We're gonna get out of here for now. Thanks for being on the show. Before we get going, though, give us your vitals. Like, give us your online presence. Where can people find you? What are you up to? Are you active on Twitter? Just kind of give us all that layout so that you can properly promote yourself in a succinct spot of the show that people know where to find you.
Yeah. So I am better known as the One Tar on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram, but I try not to post on Instagram because I get addicted to Instagram. So you think Twitter's addicting? Oh man. So those are my handles on basically everywhere. And I do, for my YouTube channel, my husband and I play games and we stream them and have fun. And then I'll do random talk videos about games and stuff like that. But for work, you can follow, I've made a new Twitter for Haba Games, and it's Haba Games USA. And if you are interested in Haba Games from a hobby gamer perspective, go ahead and give us a follow. That Twitter account is new. I'm going to be pumping a lot of love and effort into that Twitter account over the next several months. And so we definitely need to build our follower count back up. So join us there.
Cool. Well, there it is, folks. That's going to do it for another episode of That's How I Roll. Want to thank Tiffany Caires for coming on the show today. Thanks for being here. Want to remind you of a few things before we get going. Don't forget our Patreon page. You can head over to theologyofgames.com/Patreon to find out about that. Also, our Tiny Epic contest is still happening. You've still got a few days left to get in on that from our good friends at Gameland Games. Big thanks to them. And as always, you can call the Theology of Games hotline. Be a part of the show. Give us your feedback. Ask your questions. Hey, do you have a question for me to add to the That's How I Roll list? Call me up. Let me know. 216-352-3864. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
For my guest, Tiffany Caires, I'm Jeremiah Isley. And until next week, if you like Star Trek more than Star Wars, well, I don't agree with that. But hey, I'm Jeremiah Isley. That's how I roll.
Thanks for rolling with us today. That's How I Roll is produced by Jeremiah Isley and brought to you by Theology of Games. If you liked what you heard today, take a minute to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. Thanks for tuning in, and drive safe.